So we'll call in tonight's Parks and Recreation Committee meeting, May 27th, 6 o'clock. Call to order. And we have a roll call, please.
Chair Ramirez,
Here.
Vice Chair Martinez,
Present.
Commissioner Bozo,
Here.
Commissioner Graham. Commissioner Minnis, Commissioner Miller.
Here.
And Commissioner Marks.
Here. It's time in the agenda for the flag salute. Is there a flag right behind us?
Yes,
Mr. Boozer, would you lead us? Yes, sir. Please stand. Salute. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Sam. Adam, can you read the secretary's report, please?
Yes, the meeting packet was posted on Thursday, May 22nd, 2020.
Thanks. Okay, and item 5 is the approval of last meeting's minutes. Okay, anybody else? Any update? Anybody questions? Any, I go over here a second.
No second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? No, okay, so
5-0. Was the motion by Commissioner Bozo?
this.
Yeah.
Okay, now we come to item 6, the approval of tonight's agenda. Can I hear a motion? Motion to approve, anyone?
Move for approval.
Okay.
Sorry.
Porter, move to approve, second. I'll second the motion. All in favor of tonight's agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, sounds correct. And the next item on the docket is a presentation by the city on an exciting development at San Isidro Park. Sean, right, please.
Then go up to the TV, I guess. That's it.
Yes, can everyone turn around? Just
Hello, everyone. Sean with, the City of Gilroy, Capital Improvement Engineer. So I want to talk, and give a quick update on the San Isidro Healthy Living Enhancement Project. There's a lot of exciting updates that we have on this project. Can you go back to the previous slide? Or, sorry.
I think this is the first one.
There. Oh,
There was something.
oh, there we go. Yes, okay, so basically we just got access to funding. We were able to get an existing conditions map together, which is really nice. We got a really good deal from a local firm I used to work for, Hannah Bernetti, just down the street. So they got us rolling here. We got our existing conditions map. This is basically what's out there. We have basketball courts, you know, small playground here. And here, more top lot, kind of younger ages, and then for the older kids, but they're, you know, very dated structures. We have picnic areas, we have an existing trail that kind of loops around with, one segment missing on the east side. Or on the south side, sorry, we're looking east. But yeah, that's basically what's out there now, and, if you go to the next slide. So this is just a quick recap of where we are. So in 2019, there was a bunch of outreach effort. There was, like, this project was talked about within about 11 different meetings. And there was outreach conducted in all of those. We gathered comments from all those meetings and turned that into a project narrative that defined the project. We then applied for grant funding through HUD, to try to get the funds to basically see through the project narrative and all the items that were on the wish list from, that were submitted during the outreach phase. Our grant agreement was executed in late 2023. And, we've just now gotten access to the funds very recently in early 2025. I came on board in October 2024, and, we were able to get access to those funds, and now we're starting to roll. So it's looking great. So we produced a design that follows through with the project narrative. And we've also reallocated funds from design to construction by doing the design in-house. So here's some quick little photos of outreach. There was a bunch, but I didn't wanna, go scroll through a million photos, but yeah, there's some cute, photos of the kids raising their hands and talking about, what they wanted at the park. So this is the preliminary kind of exhibit and the project narrative summarized in bullet points. So those are the things that people kind of wanted, you know, a paved trail, walkways, distance markers. Upgrades of the playground area. This is kind of what I was given when I came on board. The project narrative as well as this, kind of little schematic, drawing. So garden improvements, planting improvements, playground improvements, etc. So this is the approved budget that was in the initial grant application. Roughly comes down to about 2 million in construction, a little bit more if you count the contingency of 200,000 that could have been allocated to construction. And a design budget of roughly 700,000. But we ended up updating that, and sending the grant writer an update on how we will be using the funds, which will be majority in construction. So here's the updated kind of exhibit. So I took the old exhibit and I updated it. And set out a new layout, to fit into the natural topography and provide, and deliver a project that meets all of the project narrative. As well as fits within our budget. So we've come up with initial cost estimates, and we're pretty deep into design. I've been working with playground consultants, which is nice because we pay for the equipment anyway, so that way we don't have to pay as much for design. We can kind of design it in-house, work with them. They just want to sell the equipment anyway, so they essentially give us design services, which is really nice, kind of collaborating with them. So we have some kind of spinning fun areas. We have a slide mound that we're trying to fit into the natural topography. That's kind of an existing hill. Upgrades to the tot lot area, some musical play, swings, etc. As well as improved safety access to the park and ADA frontage improvements for the driveways that are not currently ADA, so.
Did you orient me, Sean, where we are with where that's going?
Yes, so this is the existing playground here. There's some tables and kind of picnic area here. Here's the basketball court. We're looking east, so north is this way. And we're looking east into the playground. Here's the field area over here. So this is kind of the entrance, the existing driveways right here. And the existing sidewalk onto the site here, and then we have the trail wrapping around. So it's kind of in between the picnic area and the basketball courts. For the main playground area, that's more for, 8 to 15-year-olds. And then there's the top lot that's more for the younger kids. Then we have kind of a dedicated workout area. I know PD and Public Works mentioned wanting it to be seen from the street, so we located it close to there, as well as an area that gets good shade coverage from trees, so that people can be comfortable in the hotter days. There's some examples of some of the furnishings. We'll have benches, water fountains, new trash cans, workout equipment, etc. There's gonna be quite a few furnishings. Here's some preliminary renderings. It doesn't show like the seating walls and all of that. This is mainly from the manufacturers trying to kind of show off their equipment, right? It's free renderings, which is nice to kind of show kind of where we're headed. But it's still pretty representative. It just doesn't show all the furnishings like water fountains, seating, entry, signage, things like that. So there's a lot more to it, but this is like a fun start, kind of, that's kind of representative. There's another 3D rendering of the main playground. We tried to make it as ADA accessible as possible while still making it fun for swinging and climbing and sliding and such, so. There's kind of a top-down view. Can't see the kind of slide mount area because it's kind of a top view. This is kind of the preliminary design of the top lot area, more for the younger kids. Very accessible equipment and more tuned towards the younger children. This is a revised budget that was sent to the grant. The grant coordinator trying to allocate a lot more funds towards construction. Like I said, we're trying to design as much as we can in-house. We got a survey for only 12,000, which was great. And hopefully we can get a landscape architect on board just to take care of the irrigation and planting plan to make it look very nice. But generally, most of the contract documents and specifications will be generated in-house as much as possible to save on costs. So hopefully we can get it done by mid-2026 and advertise. We're pushing on the plans and making really good progress. We have a lot going on, so we're doing our best to push it along while we push along all the other projects, but it's going well. And yeah, I'm Sean. Nice to meet everyone I haven't met yet. And yeah, feel free to contact me.
So the picture of the handball court, so is that, did I miss that? Is that included in the ultimate design?
The handball court is existing, I believe. I think the only thing that was scoped was an additional half-court basketball, which we're going to try to fit into the budget. So right now, we're trying to fit everything into the budget. Things can always be separated into bid additives, and then if we get good pricing from contractors, we can keep that. And then if we can't afford to do it come construction because of rising prices or whatever the reason, they can be cut.
If I could, I would say that, think of it in four major component pieces that we're looking to add. The tiny top lot, kind of the little ones. The little bit older kids, which this is reflective of, the adult workout area. And I say completing the trail, so you have a full loop around on the southerly edge there, that completes the trail loop. Those are really the four major components. Again, the plan, the concepts call for perhaps a half court basketball court. We've got 2 full courts. We're not sure, and it's something we're interested in hearing from you and ultimately about, is whether that was something that we should even focus on, but we look at that one, as Sean said, is one that we probably might have to give up just because of the cost factor when we get to it, but because that was not what we heard was really the primary focus and efforts of this deal, but that's the only way we mention it.
Question for Adam. So how long has that handball court been there?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Many years.
Question, does it get used?
Oh, no,
Yeah, that was my concern, if the half basketball court would interfere with the handball court, was we had a bunch of handball players at our meeting, and whenever I'm at Los Animas, it's packed, like people are playing.
There's enough. Land use fee for it.
I've never seen people playing at St. Peter, but at Los Animas, it's packed.
There's plenty of people at both parks.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of folks in my little limited time playing at San Ysidro. We went to Cafecito and it was packed with people.
So was the half basketball court, like if people wanted to play there, would that get in the way?
I mean, I put on the plan to expand the concrete because the initial exhibit didn't show that. But you need to do that to buy a half court, the full size half court, but so I would think if you provided that, you would have enough room. Obviously, it wouldn't be ideal placement because it would be nice to have its own states.
One of the concepts, one of the concepts that we were pondering, so obviously, part of this issue is to keep the play field sized adequately and not encroaching into the soccer. And other sports, but mainly the soccer field and dealing with that, so we're constrained around that point in terms of how far we can push easterly. The other piece of that was we were pondering is perhaps going with a bitty ball, kind of half court deal for the younger kids or whatever that. My concern is operationally is that what I also find if you have a court that's like it's 8 foot, hoops or whatever. Kids being kids and adults being adults, they're gonna wanna go there and play a five slamma jamma on the mini court and everything with that deal, and no matter what signage you put up and dealing with that, it's bound to happen, so it's a bit of a concern, just in terms of how that works.
I mean, for me, is there something we could do to improve the handball courts that are already being used? Like why, we already.
The
have
handball courts were actually renovated, painted,
Yeah, they look
they,
good.
they.
Those handball courts look really good.
Yeah,
I don't know about handball, like, is there something else we can do? I don't.
Not at San Ysidro,
no,
not at San Ysidro. And then I have a follow-up question. That's a perfect transition. So this funding is coming from Prop 68, right?
Yes.
No.
For the,
Well,
It-
that's where the original concept
okay,
came, and that's when we were doing all of the outreach that you saw in 2019.
yeah.
And then it morphed it to the grant. Is the grant through the federal government or through the state?
It's federal funds, allocated through HUD. So HUD gives us a nice portal that lets us access the funds, which is nice, through their program, but they are federal funds.
Yeah,
And
so when the city applied for Prop 68, it got denied. But it still had all the plans, it had all the information, it just didn't get received.
So is this funding, I'm trying to get creative here, right? Because we're talking about improvements to other areas that need the improvement. Would it be a possibility if we took some of the funding allocated for this part and improved other existing areas in other parts?
Or it's restricted.
That would be nice.
limited to this spot. So,
No chance of losing it for you.
No, we have it until 2030. So I'm just trying to push on the contract documents, get it to construction as soon as possible, because costs keep going up. And, hopefully we can get it built soon so that we can afford it. But yeah, we have a while to, spend the funds.
So are they limited to $3 million? Is that a hard number?
Yes,
Because it looked like your budget number took you right up to that amount. I saw some contingency, right? Is
we'll
that,
take public comment. You'll give it your chance.
so if and so it looks like there's a contingency. Are we comfortable that, like you said, Gourmet Alley was originally thought to be something bigger, and then the time went on, we delayed, and we had to scale down the project. So I guess my point is, the quicker the better, and are we comfortable with the $3 million?
So Chair and commission members through the chair. This is a very schematic, so we're doing, we wanted to let you know and the community know that we're working on it. This is at a very schematic level. Please understand that we may have made a mistake in coming too early. But I don't think you can come too early and deal with it, but just keep it in mind is that this is extremely schematic. And what it means is that we may have to scale back some and make what our budget is work with that deal. There'll be some iterative process to that, but I think it'll be some obvious places where we can, look at those cost cutting measures and deal with it. We purposefully went and added basically almost 800,000 back, 700,000 back into the project for construction. Because we know that construction continues to rise, and that's why we've turned this in-house and not put it out to consultant services who are gonna run at $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 very quickly and deal with it. But that's how considerate and concerned we are about the budget. But we may not be able to get every single piece, but we will design it around the ability to add down the road if we have to remove some from this that will basically try to make it as easy to integrate in when we have funding available. But that's the best I can offer you.
I have a question about not budget related, but just how was, this plan conceived? Like, was there a study done with, we have, this many amount of young kids that we're gonna do this type of structure? Or how did you determine what we're putting in there?
It's all based on the project narrative and just trying to fit in all of the elements that were in the list of what the community wanted, and then providing that with the budget. So I just, got together basically a list and then quantified the, cost of all those things at a very preliminary level, and then I laid out, okay, what kind of square footage can we afford, sidewalk improvements, PIP rubber surfacing, equipment, et cetera. And then work with a playground consultant to, say, hey, what are the kids, enjoying, or, what's basically well liked in communities, and, what can we afford, so it's kind
So
of
it came from community, like there was an open forum or something and people came and were like, I want. a
Yes.
video for-"
so there was.
Actually, I was gonna, talk about this. So in 2019, when the city was applying for, funds through Prop 68, which was passed by voters to the state of California, we thought we would have a good shot, in terms of meeting the criteria. And so we did a lot of the legwork for this project, so that when there was a grant, another grant available, because we didn't get Prop 19, but part of that legwork involved doing several public outreach events. In fact, the Parks and Rec Commission, at that time, was part of that process. They would be at San Ysidro Park. They went to Cafecito, they went to every event that was going on at San Ysidro where they can interact with the community, whether it's seniors, whether it's youth, whether it's teenagers, and get their feedback. And these pictures here are from those events.
Got it.
I was actually surprised that there were 11 events. That was a lot of outreach.
I have another question. Another commissioner mentioned that I see some of the stuff that's gonna, maybe John, you mentioned it, that's going on the soccer field. Those things, those fields, that open field that's getting used for soccer quite a bit. Is
This
it
will
gonna-
not encroach.
Okay.
That's why we're constrained, with keeping the soccer field available and accessible fully for this. So there are limits that come from that point.
Yeah, we're constrained within the soccer.
This is exciting. This is awesome.
Yeah, this is great.
It should be really fun. My kids are gonna love it.
Yeah. Yeah, my only concern is the handball, because I think they're youth, so. I don't know.
Yeah.
They're-
Well, Javier, don't you play handball?
I do, sir. Yeah.
So, looking at the court, right, and, at least as it's drawn on the picture.
Mhm.
From what I remember, sometimes you go outside the wall, the outer wall, right? So does that look like it infringes to you?
So from right here, from what I can tell, just looking at the drawing, it seems like that's where the grass starts anyways. What the new structure, from what I can tell, is gonna be. So
Yeah, that's the,
it wouldn't, I
So
think
just
that,
instead of a straight basketball flowing over that direction.
you would definitely not be able to do both things at the same time, probably. Does that answer your question more or
Yeah,
less?
yeah.
Yeah. it's
And which
gonna
is,
be
which is the ball bounces that way
Yeah.
and the other balls coming that
Yeah,
way.
100%.
I honestly, my druthers, we would not have, I mean, I love the idea, I think it's fun. But frankly, I think it's unnecessary and going to create unnecessary conflict
Exactly.
with the handball activity. And I think it starts to encroach really close to the soccer field as well. So it's kind of doing two things. It's being scrunched right in between, wedged in between two uses that are extremely important to the community, the neighborhood and the users there, for something that already exists with two full-size, full court basketballs that
Right.
people 4 half courts, right?
Right.
Might have to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Not to ask any more questions, but I think that we all kind of really understand where this is at. Sean, nice to see you again.
I see.
Everything about it is well thought out. All the public outreach was great. I think we here, maybe from what I'm hearing, are in support of it. Thanks for the information. I could also get the feel that we all agree that maybe we should advise to not consider the half court from our perspective. And to give all the 100% support from our end.
Sounds really good.
I think that's what we generally might feel is that a consensus. Yeah.
I think if there's extra funds and there's anything we could do to support handball, like extra lights or something, if we don't put this basketball court in, like, we should do that.
How's it like? I'm here.
So there was lighting was originally included within the scope of this project for the grant funds. But there was a phase of construction that went and installed lighting in a prior phase, which was just a lighting project. Or maybe it was constructed with the trail permit, but I think it was just lighting. Anyway, they're new and they're recent. So I mean, I guess we could take a look at the status of that and see, make sure that they install all the ones that would be necessary. But we haven't scoped any lighting for the actual new playground area. I know, there's different thoughts on that and whether it's necessary or not. So there were lighting improvements around the perimeter of where the new park area will be that were already conducted, but currently there's no lighting scoped out or proposed for the actual new playground area. So that's definitely a conversation piece.
I think, go ahead, Rich.
You're probably gonna say exactly right.
I think, lighting should actually take a priority in this development, to be honest. Just as a prevention and safety effort for our community, things when typically are seen. Folks are, less inclined to do something malicious, so I think lighting should take a priority
Is there
in this whole
research
project in general.
that backs that up, that if we light parks at night, it's safer, or is it the opposite?
I could tell you from experience as a youth that if it's dark, you know who's hanging out in the dark areas, especially on the,
Yeah,
just from experience.
I'll only say this, I think there's an expectation of security level lighting in there, not, I think the question is whether we're basically having the playground open at dark. The parks pretty much are supposed to close at sunset, they should, and so we don't wanna get, I think we don't wanna get crazy and encourage then the activity to occur, so it's a balance point, I think, between what's, between safety and allowing folks to see what's out there and deal with that, versus basically encouraging people to hop the fence and actually enjoy the lighted, fully lighted, park when they're not actually supposed to be there, so it's a balancing point. I think we can find a spot there, and we'll be coming back, and with a check-in, as we get a little further along in the design, and we can come back and we can take a look at that and also build some of that lighting those concepts into the budget side as well. And look at basically trimming some of this as well to get to that budget point. Lighting is very expensive. It is, but it's the right thing to do. I agree with you. So I'm not, don't take anything out of that I'm disagreeing with you. It's just how much and how much.
I know this is kind of a difficult question for you to answer, but do you think we have a good chance of completing this in this next fiscal year, by the end of the next fiscal year?
I think it's possible, I think there are competing interests. With this, and particularly given funding and given where this is, we do have adequate time. I don't wanna waste time and deal with it, but I think we have to look at what's going on in pickleball. I'll just throw it out, the pickleball courts are also a high priority. And of great interest, and so there's a question here of how do we deal with that, and some of that ultimately is being driven by community, but it's also being driven by, council interest, and ultimately what just makes sense, so it is not necessarily an either or, but I definitely feel like we can be under construction in this fiscal year, whether complete, maybe not, but I think that we should be focused on trying to get under construction before the fiscal year end.
When,
The coming fiscal
when
year.
do we lose the budget again?
23rd.
Okay.
So we
So
have
there's-
5 year or 4.
Okay.
So I want to make sure all of us have asked that question before I open up to the public. Is there anybody else in the commission have any questions for Sean or for John? No? I will open up the public comment, so if anybody's, okay, yeah.
What are potential roadblocks to not getting it done by the end of the fiscal year? Just priorities is the only thing, or is there anything else that we need to jump through certain environmental hoops or something?
No, this is a remodel, it's really not, really not gonna be an environmental issue. Very few roadblocks, it's just getting it out, finishing the work.
Yeah.
And getting it out bid, hopefully getting good bids, cause we may, you have to consider that you may have to actually reject the bids and come back if they're well over budget point. That could also put you in a position in which, the bids are the bids, and the council has to find the money to supplement, that, or we have to go back in and value engineer the project to get closer to the budget with the bond, that the grant funds, provide for. So those are where you could have some significant, stumbles, shall we say.
Definitely.
If I can add just one last thing, Lee.
Sure, yeah.
This is all super exciting. Like, I love this. This is what I love to see. If anything, I'd want us to maybe potentially start that legwork that you mentioned for the next possible opportunity, you know? I know that's a very tedious step and a very long step. So how can we as a commission, capitalize and be prepared for the next opportunity? You know, I think
Well-
just thinking ahead, you know, bigger picture. I know this is nothing that can happen. It's a year, 2 years,
Let's-
but
Let me suggest this to the chair. Let's talk about that under staff updates. I think we can talk about that in a more appropriate forum than this conversation.
Yeah.
And we can still cover what you're asking. With, does that work for you?
yeah.
Okay, all right, so I will open up the public comment. Anybody from the public wants to say something? Yeah, please.
This is my first time exposed to this kind of project and I'm loving it. As Javier said, we know the community. My name is Lucy Navarro, by the way, and I'm a community leader. Not just for the San Isidro area, but for most of the city. I represent a lot of children with disabilities. So this fits perfect. We've been asking for that since the park in Morgan Hill opened up. So how come in Gilbert we don't have something like this? It's beautiful, everything that you said is beautiful. I mean, it's expensive, but it seems that the money is there. But I haven't heard anything about a big problem that represents the park. About parking. Have you ever thought about parking? Right now, there's a big problem right there. If I invite families to Cafecito, I mean, there's not enough parking space in the surrounding area. So is that part of the plan?
Well, it's not
No.
obviously not included in this plan, so I think you raise a very good point.
Yeah.
It's something that, you know, John's here, we'll consider that, but it's not in this. But I hear what you're saying, Ms. Navarro, that problem's popular too, and it's a big event.
I was there, Cafecito, yes, I was challenged to find parking.
Yeah, that has been a
Point, yes.
problem forever. And we cannot invite too many families because there's no, I mean, they don't walk. If they live on the east side on the west side of the city, I mean, they have to drive.
Yes.
They drive a car, so there's not enough parking lot. And then obviously they park on the streets. And there's people complaining about that, so it's a big problem. So we should think about this. I mean, in the priority, if it's not in this budget, we need to think
No.
about it if we are inviting. I suppose that this is for the whole community. So
Yeah.
not just for the San Isidro community.
So it's, okay.
So let me, I'll answer Javier's question. Cause who cares? No, you know, we're not really, I mean, in terms of a Brown Act.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of this question about Brown Act and it's what's agenda, whatever with this deal, but. You know, it's loose, it's a pretty open deal with it, so the question came, how do we deal with setting ourselves up for the future? Your question is, how do we address future needs and current needs and future needs? Obviously, this commission has made park Parks Master Plan, a priority project that you've identified and put forward in your work program. Planning Commission did the same, when I presented the capital improvement program to them, last month. Or I guess this month, first of the month. And they, also identified it as a priority, project. The council has identified it and kind of placed it in for the upcoming budget conversation next Monday. There will be an item there as a potential work program item being the Parks and Trails Master Plan. I think a couple of your commission members have followed that along and deal with it, so I expect that somewhere to be in the plan. That does a couple of things. One, it allows us to look holistically at each of our existing parks, to look at what the needs are within those parks, and to also look at what new and expanded park areas are necessary with that, and also look at the park, at the trails, recreational trails and things of that nature. So the council sort of couched it around recreation, not recreation itself, but parks and recreational trails. So not the recreation piece, with the belief that I think the recreation can be done under a separate kind of analysis and study that's been done before, but that's what the focus of that. So that was really what I was gonna wait till, let's say, a little later on, Javier, is that. So I think that down the road, either in the coming fiscal year or the following fiscal year, there will be potentially funding allocated to allow us to move forward on that master planning work, doing that. So one of the questions, Emily asked is, well, what are impediments to us being able to move forward on some of these other projects, like this project, to do with it? Or like, could be just a level of staffing and commitment and, and capacity to start work also on a plan like that and deal with it, which is important to also deal with it. So that's that prioritization that'll hopefully, be a question that we have to deal with, just to get all the things done that you want to get done.
Thank you. Well, I just, as we close this out, I'm also excited. This is wonderful use of this park. It's one of the major parks in the city as I look at, you have Las Animas, Christmas Hill and San Isidro. And it serves a vital community, part of our community. Doing this is gonna, it's part of the equity part of what we do in our parks. It's gonna be beautiful. I'm looking forward to doing it with other parks. I think it's part of what we all wanna do as commissioners. So we'll continue to work on it. So I'm ready to move on to the next item.
No.
Monica, a hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry.
Okay,
Sorry.
hello everyone, my name is Monica Padilla, I'm the community coordinator and I'm actually based out of San Isidro Park. So all this is really great news. I know you and I had spoken about it a little bit with me. I do want to ask a couple questions if I may. So for example, if we're not gonna use the budget to make a half basketball court, because I agree, I think it's not completely necessary. I think it would hinder the handball players, using the space optimally. However, is there any possibility that then that money can then be translated into, like one of the things I don't know if I saw was like shading, so like in the zone that you're wanting to put this at, that will not be covered by trees. So like any shading, like right now, the kids don't use it, like in the middle of the day because it's too hot, it'll burn. So is there shading, like I think I saw like the triangle shadings, or is there more shading gonna be available for that?
Yeah, so the landscape, or sorry, the manufacturer of the equipment, we were kind of going back and forth talking about, shade sales versus incorporating into the equipment.
Yeah.
It seems like the most efficient use of funds was incorporating the kind of tent things on the equipment itself in terms of efficient use of the funds. We are looking at possibly putting shade sails over the slide area, kind of having a reprieve kind of area for kids to slide down, not feel the burning hot slide. And kind of relax there along with parents watching the kids and such. So we're trying to scope that out. Those I noticed were rather expensive, so hopefully it can fit in the budget. I'm still waiting for a plan, for a preliminary cost on that one item.
We're just, we're looking at covering the playgrounds at Third Street. And those are well over 200, they're on the budget, in the budget side of well over $200,000 for those covers, so. That's it's significant, so if we can find a way to do it right. But not look at a $200,000-300,000 cost at this point. Again, trying to look at how can we maybe accommodate here this way and be able to come back and integrate that in, like we did at Third Street. We didn't have the money to do that at first. Basically, put some money aside and bring that, and ultimately now coming back to put those structures in. So that's something we'll have to look at, the way we can compartmentalize perhaps some of these things.
Yeah, that's a great way to go if we don't have the funds now.
And maybe it's stating the obvious, but trees, you know, and we have a source to trees, so I'm sure we can plant some.
We have a pretty good source there.
Another one was, the whole lighting thing, I think is super, to Javier's point, it is super necessary. In our park, I know San Isidro has new lighting and it's been super, such a positive impact to the community because they came to Cafecito and told GBD, hey, we need lighting here, like this, it's not enough, and GBD went, put up lighting. The city of Gilroy put up lighting, and that was such a positive thing, that the community saw a change. I understand the point of, not wanting, the parks are closed after sunset. They will still be in use, right? But I think to that point is, I think it does offer security to community members is what I've, always heard. But also we have cameras there now at San Isidro. And being on the other side and being able to view those cameras, having extra lighting helps. If there's a situation that happens, now it's not just a greeny like shadow, right? The lighting helps them identify people. So I just wanted to make that known. My last thing is the community center that we have there. Is there any funds designated for that community center to be maybe like extended or upgraded? Anything like that, like since they're not doing like a half court, is that a possibility maybe?
Yeah, that's not, I can tell you, it's not gonna be a trade-off
Yeah.
at this point. We've talked at Cafecito a little bit, we'll push for, facilities to do some, at least sprucing up and painting and like dealing with that. And I think they need to take a look in the interior a bit, and it's a little tired and dated, and, so we'll push. I think the commission can push some of that issue as well, with it. But I can tell you, this grant was focused on these
Just
other
the-
things like that,
Okay.
where we're limited. Plus the budget, just,
Okay.
that's a whole other issue, but I hope that there's things that we can do in the next year or so to just at least give a little bit of a.
Yeah,
heads up out there.
I like, these comments are important for us as a commission to understand what the community needs. The city council needs to hear them too, so I encourage that kind of communication as well.
Okay. Yeah, and I think lastly, would it be possible for, this to be presented at our next Cafecito, just to like show like what is happening? I mean, I think the outreach was great, right? But we are talking about almost like 6 years ago. So, a lot of community members have, and I've only been here since
Yeah.
March, and they've already told me like, oh, that's not been used, Monica, what are you doing about it? I'm like, I will figure it out. So I'm just
We
wondering.
can
if
talk,
that would
I think
be
we can
appropriate.
take it off, I think we can have that conversation.
Okay.
We'd be happy to come. I would like to make sure that it's more meaningful to
Yeah,
them, and
for sure.
maybe looking at a little later than that
yeah.
with it is, might be the better thing, so we can have this, a little more, specific.
I think it would show good faith too,
Yeah.
of like, we heard you and we did all of this, and now this is,
Yeah.
the
We-
production sense of what you guys want.
We'll definitely come.
Yeah.
Let's talk about whether the timing is
Yeah,
the right.
okay.
time, but-
Great, I'm glad you're open to it. Thank you. Thank you all. I think this is fabulous.
Please.
Hi, everyone, Miranda Lopez. I'm the career art specialist with the Neighborhood Safety Services Unit stationed in East Gilroy, so San Isidro is also my hub. The thing I wanted to mention to you all is very much to Monica's point, is that those outreach activities were done over 6 years ago. The demographic and the audience that neighborhood has changed so much, and I'm sure those needs have also changed. And very much how Monica offered, you know, we're happy to bring the commission to different community events that we'll be having. No pressure, but we will have one in July, so you're more than welcome to stop by, but there's also other ways to reach the communities. We can support with canvassing if that's what it takes, just to hear from community members, something much more updated than what you have from 6 years ago. Of course, with time. And I understand there's a time constraint, you know, with wanting to get this done by the next fiscal year, but I'm sure we can work something out where we get more communities input before then. And the other thing I want to mention is to your question, Commissioner Miller, about the lighting. I'm sure there's research studies that can correlate lighting to less crime. Specifically at San Isidro, we see a lot of homeless individuals because of that trail that runs through the back. So I know there's a lot of concerns with it being too dark back there, and we have received new lighting, which has helped tremendously, along with the new cameras installed by GPD. I'm sure you can ask them for statistics to see if there's been any reduction in crime. But what I can tell you is that we did see at one point an uptick in vandalism, which that has now gone significantly down because of the activation of the space. Very much like Monica mentioned, she is stationed there now pretty much the entire week, so that's helped a lot. So with a lot more movement, we'll see more folks coming by and hopefully less reduction in crime also in that area. But better lighting would be amazing in that area.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we move on to the next item on the agenda. Are there any public comments for items not on the agenda?
I don't.
Okay, new business?
No.
Okay, old business.
The commission work plan, so this is the current work plan that, so if you open up your meeting packet. And go to the first and only stuff, of course. Actually, I would say turn to the spreadsheet that is on here. You go to the spreadsheet. If you go all the way to status, there's been a few updates since the last meeting. They're all in bold. So if you look at the first one, the first update, host Arbor Day, so, city staff's been already asked when the next Arbor Day is. Last year, it was in the fall, around, I think, October. Yeah, I know Parks prefers to plant in October or in the fall.
Yeah, usually works better.
Okay, so
The trees take home.
anyway, so that is, it doesn't have to be decided tonight, but, staff can get back to you with some options on some
Sure.
dates. But it looks like it'll be in the fall at this point.
Okay,
Next update is participate in citywide events. The commission has been very busy. They tabled at the plant sale over at Christmas Hill Park, as well as on the same day, Earth Day, April 19th. They tabled at Cinco de Mayo at Christmas Hill Park on May 4th. And they recently hosted an Energizer station at Bike to Ever Day on May 15th. So good job, commissioners. Review of establishing a pickleball facility. So it is being proposed as John had mentioned, the new pickleball court for the next 2-year budget cycle, possibly next fiscal year. And the last and perhaps I think one of the most important updates of the night is the story walk. So it has finally been signed. It has taken months to get to this point. So and as soon as it was signed, city staff went to Christmas Hill Park with the library to walk the grounds and to identify exactly how it's going to be laid out. It's essentially what it was when it was proposed, which is, if you recall, starting in the playground area over on, by Miller Avenue, and then kind of jutting around the Mulberry picnic area, and then kind of making a left that follows a trail toward the Walnut picnic area, and then it will come back. So I think we agree on a U. And they're gonna have how many? 17?
17.
panels.
Yeah, 17 panels.
That's the, apparently that's the industry standard for a children's book, 17 pages. I didn't know.
Anyway, I don't know where they're at with their paperwork, but they wanna
They-
install this in June.
They've reached out, they're working with staff, on getting, water and water availability and everything, so they can do their concrete, they're gonna hand dig and pour the posts and deal with it, so we're looking at June is what they're looking to install.
And once completed, we'll have a ribbon cutting, so.
One,
What story is it? Do we know?
It'll be a changing story. I don't know what was, they mentioned it, but they're looking to change it like quarterly.
Yeah,
Cool.
so to keep it.
Fresh.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really cool.
on that note, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, why don't you talk about that related item?
we met with Cassandra Wong, and she's terrific to work with. And what we were talking to her about is another storyboard, kind of bilingual type, maybe at San Ysidro Park. And she's very open to helping us with that. We have a potential fundraiser for August the 1st. And our goal is to raise 3,000, maybe better. It's not a lot, but it's an opportunity to get it started. And now that I know that it's 17, is it 17 positions like in the park? Yeah. And it's, anyway, we'll do our best to raise the money, and your chair is gonna be working, he's gonna be a specialist on spaghetti. And Cassandra also said that she would help out with that. So that's where we are. We are scheduled. We got our contract approved. And we're ready to go in April, and we have 12 to 15 Italian students that are coming from Italy. And they're gonna make the homemade dinner. And their teacher is with them also. And they have, not them, but students have come before and have been there and did the dinner. 2 years ago, they did it. And we raised money for scholarships, and this time we want to emphasize on the storyboard.
Commissioner Bozo, through the Upslog, got that approval, and so the fundraising dollars, we'll have to work out the administrative piece of it, but, ideally, we could just pay directly the contractors, but if the contract between the city and, and the library should be identical, it's just a different location. We do like the idea of bilingual, we like the idea at San Ysidro. And some of the stuff we saw was really beautiful, and how they do a very colorful, really cool stuff, so, yeah. That's, once we get the money, we'll come back to the city and try to get, another date for it.
And there is a chance, we met with the fellow who writes our, it's called the Garlic Press for the Elks. And he said that, this is an interesting story about the storyboard and where it's gonna go in the park and so on. And, he says that we may want to take a look at, go for funding, to add to what we're trying to raise in August, so that's where we are. Yeah, it's a definite go. Yeah.
And I think, I think this speaks to the bigger issue as we do more of this and we have money coming in. Administratively, it becomes difficult to work with the city handling $2,000-3,000, just administratively difficult. But there is a nonprofit that was set up for Parks and Rec. I don't think it's very active right now, but it's something I think we should look at as a commission to see if, because if money like this comes in, it's easier handling through the nonprofit than going to the city for these little things like that. So that's something maybe maybe the next new business coming down the line, we can throw that on there. But yeah, so storyboards on board and we're excited about that Christmas sale and Thanksgiving. Okay, anything else on the work plan that we need to address? I can, do you want to?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, please.
Do we have a park identified or an area identified for Arbor Day?
Oh.
No,
Okay.
no, that's another thing that, park staff will have to do, so.
Okay, that's identified by park staff.
Yeah, usually, and John, correct me if I'm wrong, he'll identify a couple parks that are in need of trees in a particular area that will.
Yeah, usually we try not to do the same park over back to back, but we try and pick a park that's either has a lot of dieback or holes. We're open to suggestions if you guys in your park checks that have one that glaring. Either pick one that needs it or missing quite a few trees. Usually have a couple parks already kind of lined up that to get trees replanted.
Thank you.
I do want to comment on the work plan with respect to the pickleball court. I know that was, we did a lot of work on that at the commission, and the council. It's right, it's currently in the CIP budget for the next fiscal year, process 2-year fiscal year period, along with $500,000 of improvements to parks for each fiscal year over the next 2 years. So all that stuff was our recommendation to city council. It looks like it might be approved. I think June 2nd, they do the final improvement, which is next Monday, the final approval of the budget. So keep that in mind. I will probably be there to listen to that meeting. And the pickleball courts on it as well, the $800,000 also, and it's scheduled to be spent in the next fiscal year. So it's on there. It looks like that's moving forward, as approved as it is now.
Do we know the location for the pickleball court?
Los Alamos Park, I think.
Chair Ramirez, would this be a good time to talk about citywide events, specifically soccer?
Sure, absolutely.
Just want to update the commission that we have a June 7th event that's primarily being organized by the Earthquakes Foundation along with several other nonprofits, but it's spearheaded by Catholic Charities. June 7th, the event will be held at South Valley Middle School. Thanks to our Chair Ramirez, I'm very involved with the organizing committee, and I will provide the flyer shortly before we end it. I do have it in my vehicle. But I would like to participate as a same way as we did before, tabling. I'll be available that day. I know Mr. Chair Ramirez, you're gonna be on vacation, so if any other commissioner wants to join me, Javier, not sure if you're available, Mr. Martinez.
Yeah, I'll be around.
Okay, George. I know that the South County Task Force is also involved in that effort as well.
And that, from what I understand, I think you're almost fully, all the kids already signed up, 175 kids or
Yeah,
something
there
like
was
that.
gonna be 200 spots. There are 175 last update we got with
Wonderful.
a week and a half to go.
And you've got all the local high school coach, a lot of high school coaches going participating, the Earthquakes are gonna be there.
Yes, so the Earthquake's gonna be providing about 20 individuals that will be helping organize the event, along with local coaches and high school coaches and the high school volunteers from both high schools they're gonna help. So it went from, I believe, 100, which 80 turned out last year, now to 100. So hopefully about 180 turnout this year. And hopefully it continues to grow and becomes a big event, yearly event or semi-annual event, whatever it might be.
And Commissioner Vargas, if you are planning to table, perhaps Friday or Thursday of that week, I say that week is next week.
Next week.
Yeah, you can come by here at the senior center and I'll provide you with the table cover, table, couple chairs.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we're ready to move on. Okay, so, that takes care of the work plan, staff updates.
Oh, recreation was. Okay, so it's in the meeting packet, the next page here where it says Gilroy Recreation. Okay, so this is, just some, activities, programs that we are either going to be involved with or have been involved with. So, not sure if you're aware, but the annual Fourth of July fireworks display, although we don't actually light the fireworks, we are involved in hiring the contractor to produce the fireworks display every year. It is actually quite expensive, but fortunately, the county has a grant to help offset some of the costs. And we've received it the last 3 years, and this year we received it again, so we received $3,333. Don't ask me how they determined that. But we were recently notified, so that was helpful. Adaptive, so this is our adult special needs programs, which are actually held here. We had our annual fishability event, so this takes place at McAlpine Lake. It's been going on for well over 30 years. It's a great event. There's over 100 adaptive participants involved, and then there's probably another 200 members of the family. And it's sponsored by the Sportsman Chef, and they work in conjunction with Illinois Recreation. And all of the adaptive participants, they learn to fish. And there's a couple of pictures on the back, you'll see. These are the participants, and they also get a little trophy at the end. They have lunch, they have donuts in the morning. It's a lot of fun. And then we have the Aloha Dance coming up. It will be held here at the Senior Center. And that will be on June 6th. And it's a dance, let me tell you this, so the theme is Aloha. They will be having snacks, they'll have dinner. There's a professional DJ. It's a rager. Aquatics, so this has probably gone up significantly, but, so as you know, the city contracts out its aquatic services. And every month, the provider provides us with an update of how many people are registered, how many people have signed up for, whether it be a class or have, once recreation swim begins, how many people have gone through the gate, how many party rentals they've rented out, things like that. So the ones that the city is always interested in, of course, is swim lessons and recreation swim. So as of May 1st, and of course, the aquatic center just opened this past weekend, but as of May 1st, 566 participants have registered for just the group swim lesson. That doesn't include private swim lessons. And 90%, actually 90+% are residents. So it is really focused on Gilroy. Also good news, the Aquatic Center passed its annual inspection, so the state has to come out and do an inspection of the water slides to make sure that they're safe to use for the public. And so we passed, and again, opening day was this past weekend. It should probably see an uptick in numbers this upcoming weekend because it's supposed to be very warm. Bike to Wherever Day. Thank you to Commissioners Ramirez, Jimenez, and Graham. I think there's a picture of you on the back. There is. For tabling for Bike to Wherever Day. The commission's been doing this. I think this is the 4th year in a row they've done it. So good job, commissioners. Seniors, although it may seem small, it actually is not. So we have been, we recently had a door opener installed, so an automatic door opener. So believe it or not, we didn't have one on this side of the senior center, which is where the seniors actually go. And so that meant that they would have to, maybe they use a walker, maybe they use a cane, maybe they're in a wheelchair. They would actually either have to have someone else do it, they themselves do it, pull the door open and come into the center. And of course, that causes a lot of problems. We were finally able to have that installed. It took 3 days, but it is working great and they're very appreciative of it. We also have it on the restrooms as well. So when they enter the restroom, they can just push a button and it automatically opens. We recently had a health fair, literally right here, as well as at the social hall. We had 22 vendors and more than 100 seniors attended, and you can see that too, also on the back page, it's in the top. We had everyone from the YMCA, the Gilroy Museum, California Highway Patrol, Santa Clara County Public Health Department, housing, a variety of vendors that support senior services. Summer day camp. So this is the camp that we hold at Gilroy Gardens every year. This number is actually probably about 2 weeks old at this point, but we have over 170 campers registered for this camp. There's still plenty of spots available. And then, of course, there are camps offered by contractors. So this is like Skyhawk Sports. This is Mad Science, dance camps, things like that. So we probably have well over 350 participants already registered for summer
Do
camps.
you know what the trend line are? Are you trending above, below? Is it the same as last year? Can you tell?
Without actually checking last year's numbers at where we're at this very point, I would say it's probably similar to where we're at. I think the day camp's probably higher just because it was offered last year, so we're seeing a lot of returnees come back. But in terms of general, I would say it's probably similar, but again, I don't have the hard numbers of exactly where we were at this very point last year. And then also, a couple weeks ago, we had our annual creek cleanup over at Christmas Hill Park, and thanks to Victory Outreach,
Yeah.
with I think 18 volunteers, they helped clean up close to 250 pounds of trash. They removed almost 250 pounds of trash from Christmas Hill Park. That, of course, is always very helpful. And then we also had a teen volunteer program. There were 14 teens who signed up, who are going to be volunteers this summer at the Gilroy Gardens Summer Day Camp, where they can receive community service hours, but they can also receive good skills, which hopefully one day will translate into job opportunities. And that is it.
Okay. City parks. Okay, Lisa.
So, for the past month, we've been, park maintenance, priority, we've been, completing the weed abatement, under the park umbrella, various lots, overpasses and, city homes that fall under our weed abatement, responsibilities. We've also, if you guys have been out to Sports Park, we removed all the dead plant material in the parking lot and planning to replant quite a few of the planters there in the parking lot. El Roble got a refresh on the sand for the playing structure. Again, with the irrigation mainline repairs, it's starting to simmer down a little bit, but still quite a few breaks at Christmas Hill, Rampsite and Sports Park. But hopefully, knock on wood, but it seems like we always do it somewhere. Raised concrete, we've been working with the contractor from PCC. Contractor has executed on the contract. They were able to shave a lot of the raised edges at Los Animas Park. Mainly around the rec center, the big side of the food. And over towards the handball court, which they really did a really nice job of taking down a lot of edges there. They also were able to hit up Rainbow Park and Sidney Casper Park as well as Los Arroyos, taking out a lot of the edges that were there. We still have a little bit more, but we spent the contract that we had, so if we can get that, recharged next. Continue, but they really did make a big improvement on a lot of, trip hazards that we had in the parks.
John, Rainbow, you mean Delray?
No, Rainbow Park, oh, Delray, I think did also get paving, but, Rainbow Park is awesome.
Arasaki and
Arasaki and Fantelli.
So what day did they do the Del Rey? Do you know?
I couldn't give you the date. I know they did some, but there's one there that's not able to be. It's beyond the threshold for the shaving. The concrete shaving is anything above 2 inches is considered, you have to remove the concrete and refill. So there are a couple of spots at Delray that we're gonna have to go much more possibly repair.
Is there a plan to do that?
At the moment, just within the budget, and time. Delray, I think if you're, talking about the area where it's concrete and then there's pavers,
Yeah.
we don't have a contract for it, we were looking at staff time, but we'd have to get quotes and, see if we can get that done.
Maybe even just remarking it, cause it has like pink on it, but it's like super worn out. And every time I go there, I'm like, oh, are they gonna do this thing?
Yeah, we can do that. The hometown heroes banners were installed by the park team. We're now up to 40 banners. They've really taken a liking to it. It's grown every year we started with 17 and, it's well received by our local veterans. Looks really nice. We worked with the volunteer group out at, Sunrise Park to get the, pickleball court restriped. They did a really nice job and refreshed the side in there.
John, quick question to that.
Uh-huh.
Would we be able to do the same thing for the handball court at Las Animas as far as the restriping? And what does that process maybe look like?
So the process we did with, Sunrise, we had a group come to and inquire about doing restriping the pickleball courts. And, that's basically we assisted them with, access to water, power, locking the gates for them. So, if there is a group that would like to volunteer to restriping, but I think we're also been talks of resurfacing that area. So,
The money for Sunrise, it was private money, like it wasn't any city money. They like bought the paint themselves and measured everything and.
And just one other thing, they also became volunteers, so for liability purposes.
so there may be, now we've talked about it, we don't have anything, I don't have a concrete answer for you, whether we're gonna have a plan to do the repaving, but it may fall within the budget of this next budget cycle, but.
I think this is the right time to follow up on what Mr. Martinez is saying. As I mentioned earlier, there's $500,000 budgeted if the budget passes on Monday, June 2nd, for improvements in the park for the next 2 years. John, is that decision made by you or by what improvements are gonna be made? You know that process?
Well, yep and no. I mean, obviously, there's input from various places, including this commission, on that. You know, that $500,000 looks pretty good, except that over the last couple of years, we've had close to that amount of money, over $300,000 allocated just to do, restroom refacing and retrofits and remodels and everything to get them deal with that, and we still have work to do there, so that money basically, if we continue the restroom work, just doing remodels and or replacing them, there's been a push. Obviously, there's a desire to have a new restroom on the ranch side of Christmas Hill, with all the activities there. That's gonna be an expensive project. Don't even know whether that $1 million, frankly, because of where sewer lines, might have to be run to deal with that, or we do tanking So it's not a lot, you know, in the end, it's not a lot of money, to deal with. So we have some money in our regular maintenance, budgets, and, we try to keep, you know, jet mulching and replacing materials, plant materials and things of that nature. But it does not really address the major capital projects and programs. So those are the challenges. We're also looking at using that money. We've had a lot of inquiries and interest in having us up, basically fix some of the existing, equipment, playground equipment. Some's just faded out and looks really poor, and some are in need of maintenance and repair. And it's the right thing to do, so that's a balance point as well. That alone probably could equate to about $200,000, easy in terms of those replacement parts and dealing with that, and that would be primarily us doing much of that work, so that's just an equipment alone, the panels and the pieces. So, sorry to go on and on about it, but I think it's important to understand that 500,000 this year and this coming year and 500,000 the next year, there's going to be a lot of people's asking for that and begging for that money to go to various things, and it's not gonna go very far. And
I
it's
just
not a
wanna
criticism.
note that that was in our request to do the handball court specifically and improvement at Los Animas.
We'll certainly take a look at it.
And we did have community support at the meeting too. There was
The
people
lo-
that came and spoke about handball and.
If I could say this with Los Animas, there was also, a push for resurfacing and dealing with, a crack. Now, I'm not sure if that crack is really creating, I've looked at it, we can maybe seal it and deal with, but if we're looking at a significant resurfacing and rework of that, that's gonna be a lot of money. If we can live with basically an epoxy seal to that and then come in and then do the striping or whatever, the striping is not going to be a huge amount of money. I don't wanna make it sound like it is, it's an impossible. But that was part of the issue is, and then there was also the questions about, can we resurface the basketball court? All of those things come into that starts to add up into a significant, amount of money. Again, I love projects, I love parks. Our staff want to do these things and deal with it, but there are limits in terms of just what the budget, will provide and allow for. So we'll be frugal and where necessary, come back and ask for your, support and pushing forward some of these things.
Right now, those courts, I was just at Los Angeles, it's literally dirt, like, there's no benches, they're always super busy, and there's always people there playing. Like, they're playing music, they're having a good time, like, they're grilling, like, and they're in dirt, like, it shouldn't be like that.
I agree, I was just out there at 4 o'clock today, so, and I was out last week. And I get that part of it, it's the balance, there are tons of needs.
Yeah.
Just in Los Animas alone, with it, that certainly would exceed.
I think we've made
what we
that
have
point.
annual budget wise
I
for.
think we've all made that point and we're all aware that there's needs to be some improvement of park, that things have been deferred. One of the things that as a commission we wanted to happen is we wanted to have an updated, parks and, trails and master park plan updated, been since 2005, so I can tell you that the last city council meeting, that's gonna be on the legislative agenda over the next 2 years, so before, I think it's listening, and it's the kind of thing that you have to keep saying over and over again, and getting it for the city council and contact, that these are the things that are important. And maintenance of our parks is one of them, and so you just have to keep advocating.
Keep on the lookout for more of those grants.
Yeah.
I love $3 million.
Yeah, don't you?
Just real quick before we move on, I know we're kind of doing a lot. Commissioner Miller, to add to your point, I think if we could get the same turnout that came here for pickleball, to kind of be there for the council meeting to, and possibly have them send emails to the whole council. That works wonders, because apparently at the last council meeting, over 50 emails were sent from the east side in support of a certain draft. That obviously is not a topic here, but the council listened to the people that emailed versus the people that were present to shoot for, or to pick a certain draft for redistricting. So therefore, if this is a big concern, and I think we all agree, if we all share the issue with friends, family, and the community, and really voice that, hey, we want this improvement. Pickleball is something we wanted, we advocated for it, especially up in, from your end, and you put a lot of effort to it. I think we could really make a big push in the city, so that way the voice could be heard.
Yeah, I remember it briefly being touched upon that if we're gonna be doing the pickleball courts and resurfacing that, you know, grouping projects together
Possibility,
might
yeah.
be cost efficient.
Yeah. We're also looking at possibility, and I'd love to look at resurfacing the east, I guess that's the east, I'd call it central, but the east parking lot. When we're doing a major paving project, but we'll see, we're hoping to be able to maybe squeeze a little bit out of that and do that. But then there's the issue of parking, but more importantly, you know, the lighting and everything, and I don't wanna put new asphalt down and then, you know, and then come back and break it all up to put in lighting. So we've got it, so it's a sequencing and timing with it, but sometimes you just take the pavement when you get it and live with the rest until you come back and revisit it.
Thank you. Thank you, John.
Welcome, yeah. You know, handball, I can't promise you we'll get it, but we have taken that, concern to heart, that we have talked about it, among staff as well. The streets department and seeing what would be the options if we try to do it in-house. Yeah, it's a time and labor kind of deal we can do, so if it can happen, we'll make it happen, but with everything else.
I know we wanna be moving on, done. I just want to say, if you're looking at C-Click Fix, you can see the tremendous load that's there. And now, again, a lot of good things. I just walked through Los Alamos, and there must have been probably 15 different spots of graffiti. And they keep appearing, we keep dealing with it, we keep cleaning it, we keep dealing with that. I don't know that there's anything that we can do, but what I can tell you is that means we aren't doing other things in the parks that we want to be doing and dealing with that. It's kind of the challenge we're dealing with it, and frankly, the C-Click Fix is taking priority to a great extent over normal everyday work that we're doing to basically address these responses. Don't have an issue with it. It's where we are, and it's important for these things to be pointed out, and my staff. I think we all need to take a better look around when we're out and about to deal with that and see things before they C-Click fixed. Issues come around with it, so there's some of that work that needs to be done too, and getting our eyes open to that point. But if you just look and go into the system and look at kind of the load there, it's an incredible amount of activity in both police department, and public works, and the other departments are also seeing, but we're just seeing a lot of that. So just keep that in mind, but we're trying to respond to those and react to those points, but that'll take hours.
Yeah, I think that circles back down to the poor lighting of the parks, right? And the activation of the space. Las Animas is horrible lighting. So I think that has to deal a lot with that. I mean, you look at San Isidro, they also have that same effect.
But you've got a huge park. Do you really, I mean, I'm gonna say this, do we really think that lighting is going to change the graffiti from occurring on the sidewalk along the area back there that's basically 100 yards from anybody's visibility and visual point and everything with that deal. I don't really believe that's gonna make a major change to that point. It's gonna, if money was nothing and everything with that deal, I don't have an issue with lighting it, but the other side of it is I just don't know that that's going to really be the difference. I mean, they're graffitied a tree. You do the graffiti in the tree and you're off and deal with it. It's just problematic. Tagging, and most of it has some gang affiliation stuff with it. And it's a shame, but I'm just putting out there, we're spending a lot of time, dealing with that, which means that we're not doing other things that the community would really like us to be doing in the parks. That we are staffed to do, with it. So, and it's a statement. And I have no answer for it. It's a challenge in most communities.
I have a question about the Seed Quick Fix. Can we see everything or are there like?
Well, hold on, Sarah, we're still in
Yeah.
Don's parks
Sure,
report, so let's go to commissioner reports, and this is the great opportunity.
Yeah, so are you done?
Just, like we touched on there's, requests from Sequoia Fix that graffiti is definitely one of the main, contributors to that. Redevelopment, volunteers, things like that has been keeping us busy. I think in the past month, we're somewhere upwards 40 some Sequoias, so quite a bit. And then I just want to touch on some upcoming projects. Next week, we're planning to start a reseed, the turf at the Third Street Dog Park and replant, 4 dead trees.
Oh, wow.
We'll be closing the park for, 4 weeks to, let the seed take hold before we let the dogs back in. But, that's where we're starting to prep this week to get all our ducks in a row and try to, start and complete the project within the next week.
Don, have you posted signs for that or?
Yeah, we just.
Okay,
made
okay,
signs
great,
for
thank you.
So that's coming, starting next week. As John had mentioned, we're, still working towards getting the, shade structures at Heckerpath Park. We're finalizing the quote for a, playground retrofit at the, Delray Park for the, 2 through 6 year olds, play structure. Yeah, we're talking about 3 million. A retrofit where you use the buildings and change everything alone is about 80,000, so 3 million doesn't go too far.
Yeah.
And then, restroom replacements with Los Animas, and, I've been receiving bids to do the, restroom renovations to the 4 parks of Los Animas, Christmas Hill, San Isidro, and, Sports Park. That includes, putting epoxy floors down, new paneling, hand dryers, replacing some fixtures, repainting the inside, freshening them up, bringing them up to code. I think San Isidro has a ventilation issue, so we actually added ceiling fans to that quote as well. So have one last meeting tomorrow, and then I should have all 3 quotes. Looks like it's gonna fall within our budget for this fiscal budget. Hopefully we get that rolling, so we get all 4 community parks refreshed and the bathrooms that are gonna stay.
We have a little bit of money left. In this current fiscal year, we're trying to use it.
Yeah.
As a fed. While we can.
When is the Delray retrofit supposed to be done?
Right now we're in the, just finalizing a few last, details on the quote itself. Once the quote is received and approved, then there'll be some lead time to, depending on where they get their materials. You could be as long as 12 weeks, but hopefully we're trying to get the, cost encumbered on this fiscal, so hopefully somewhere looking like the fall, maybe, if I had to guess. And we're also trying to complete the water fountain upgrades at the Los Animas Park. We got the one by Hannah in process. And then we're gonna do one by the bridge at the auxiliary field. Yeah, like we said, the graffiti and the other stuff, we get started and then. Yeah, Frankie out there today spent 9 hours cleaning graffiti, both bathrooms, floors. And all. So, yeah, starting to stop.
So I think this might be an appropriate time to ask about the seat, like, since we're talking about it. So is every issue visible? Or are there some that are reported that you guys are just working on in the background? Like, is it helpful for us to? Like I saw a tree down at Sunrise. I reported it because I didn't see it. Like, is it good to get those numbers? I know you guys are already working on it, or?
Oh, yeah, I think it's great, that you guys see it. I think you posted one, we had already cleaned it off and. put-
Yeah, I didn't know if that was, should I be
Please-
doing that?
Please
No.
do it.
No, please do so.
You know, if you're, particularly when you're out, we could probably transition to the parks report, but the simplest answer is that don't withhold, your need, you know, for identifying concerns and issues out there to the monthly meeting we have here. Use the C-Click Fix, it's there, it's a tool, and, thank you so much. Please use it, it's not a criticism of it, it's really just a statement of that it's a tool that we use. If
I
you're-
didn't know if it was like already marked, like, are you tracking your numbers in that? And is it helpful to be like, oh, we completed 40 issues, or is it just a waste of my
It's
time?
great data for, as we move forward at the end of the year, we may have 150 C-Click fixes, and we might have another 200 just in the City Works request that we put together.
So let me answer it this way. The ultimate year would be to have 0 C-Click fixes. Because it's not, the numbers are not, the higher the number, it means either the community is perhaps misbehaving a little bit in terms of littering or doing things, breaking things or whatever. It means that we're not addressing the issues in weeds, weed abatement. It means that we're not picking up litter where we should be doing, just from a public works perspective. We're not catching the graffiti early, and we should be seeing that and dealing with that, whatever it might be. A sprinkler's broken. So C-Click Fix is about alerting us and telling us as a staff what we're missing. So our objective is to have 0 C-Click Fix, so that it's not to drive the numbers up. But I'm not afraid of the numbers, because the numbers need to be what the numbers are, which is that if we're missing things and we're not catching them, because we can't be everywhere, then be the eyes and ears out there in the community. And if you're dealing with the parks and doing them, click them, please send us a picture. It's really helpful. Some people send us a note that we don't get a picture. It's really helpful if we know exactly what you're talking about. It helps us zone right into the issue and know what's going on.
So if it's already being taken care of, the tree I reported, I knew you guys were on it, there were cones, there was tape, like, it's not useful necessarily. I didn't know if you're like.
No, if you get, if you see and there's a sign, say, like you say, there's a broken, if there's a water fountain, we've taped it off, there's a sign that says we're working on it, we have a part on order or whatever. Please don't do it again, because you know what we're at and kind of dealing with it. Now, if you come back a year, 6 months later, and you're like, what the heck is going on with this deal? Why isn't this done? That's a fair thing to say, like, did you get the part yet? And make sure that we're not forgetting about it and dealing with it, because that does happen. So keep us honest about those kind of issues and things too. But yeah, if you see it there, you should be able to look. But we've had people report 2 and 3 people the same issue. It's fine. We just kind of consolidate into one response and deal with it.
Yeah, I just didn't know if like at the end of the year, you're like, oh, look at all these issues, like you need more staff, it's good, or if you're reporting that somewhere else.
It cuts both ways. I said, my goal is zero. You know, I can set, but that goal is probably never going to happen just in reality, but that's the objective across the city, is to have none, because we're being proactive and responsive when we see it and dealing with that. We're being proactive to make sure these things aren't breaking or having a problem with, and so that's the ultimate objective of See Click Fix.
Let's move on to the commission, sir.
I'm next.
Okay.
Yeah, but I
Yeah,
wanna ask you a question.
sure.
What's the name of that, you call in and, there's a name for it? That you call in and you say the tree is,
Well, the non-emergency line,
what is that called?
non-emergency line.
Okay.
Yeah.
There is that available. I understand it's working pretty good. Do you get feedback on that?
The non-emergency dispatch.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, we have staff, that are, on standby.
Uh-huh.
And they will respond if we get a call out. I mean, a common occurrence.
Yeah,
Well, I would say a common occurrence, but it's something that's very common in the work, is a DUI or a traffic accident, takes out a power pole or takes out a light pole, and our folks
Yeah.
get called out there.
well, a good example then is the fact that at Miller Park, the tree, you call, I don't know, Louis, if that was you, but anyway, the tree came down. And the next day, the tree was taken away. And that was at Miller Park. And then last month, I reported that at Miller Park, those little rope and.
The protective barrier,
Yeah,
thing that was there.
Louis, cause you called it to the attention and it was done.
It's
It
gone.
was done. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. And then lastly, I was talking to John today and what's the name of that? It would be,
Long Meadow.
Long Meadow
Carriage,
yes.
Carriage Hills, Nature Preserve.
Right,
Yeah.
the Long Meadow Court, I reported last month that there was bags of trash. It wasn't bags of trash. It was gravel. And it was off to the side. It wasn't in the way of anybody, so. And it's still there, but it's not hurting anything, so, I'm just saying, you guys are on it, but there's just a lot of it. And thank you very much. I'm done.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we're ready to go on to the commissioner reports and look at our park.
That was my
That
commission.
was your very
by the
good,
way.
Sam. So, Javier, you want to do yours? Did you get a chance to look at your parks?
I've been out of town for the past couple of weeks, but one thing that I have seen, are some overgrown trees covering the path, walk, at Rainbow Park. Like the pine trees, they're just overgrown, so you kind of have to duck, squat to get under the pathway at a certain point. The graffiti was talked about already, so I won't say that again at last time in this park. I got came back to a lot of calls and pictures regarding graffiti. But that's all I got.
Sports Park looks really good. There's no baseball going on. Del Rey, still, I mentioned it earlier, there's that trip hazard situation. And then again, I'll mention it, I mentioned it last time, I think the equipment looks dated and old, so I'm excited about that retrofit. That is scheduled to happen, and then Sydney Casper, it looks really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, roadways, looks great. I saw the sand, you doing the sand, that's great. I saw some more young families out there. That has a little bit of outdated play equipment, but that it's nice and shady. Sunrise looks fantastic. Rents looks fine.
I do have more comments that aren't related to my part, but we'll do that now.
Right.
So I was at the last city budget meeting and Councilmember Bracco talked to me about the downtown pocket park and how those trees aren't in. So I went down there and looked at it and I saw what he was talking about.
I have an answer.
Good.
We are moving 3 of the trees, as John indicated, to the dog park.
Oh, Great.
So 3 of the box trees are going there, and the other box trees will be planted by staff as well there at Prieto Park.
At the pocket park down.
At Prieto, yeah, Pocket Park,
And when are they gonna be planted?
soon,
Like,
like. Look. Within the next 60 days, how about that? After that deal, soon.
okay, cool. Thank you so much. That's awesome. You have the answer. And then also I went down there to look at it and it's kind of upsetting that some of that, we just put that in and some of the music equipment is already like not working. And so I saw that in the new park plan. I don't know if it's the same stuff, but it's already broken. Some of the music equipment. So,
Take a look. Take a
okay,
look. That's a C-click fix item.
okay, yeah.
Click
And
it, that helps us.
Did we have a contract for that? I remember when that was installed, I don't know who was responsible for the maintenance on
That was just the pop-up park.
that. And, we were talking about parks, George, I don't know if you wanna talk about your parks at June.
Yes, I did use C-Click Fix It. I was at Christmas, Hill Park, and noticed there was a handicap sign, that was broken. Sometime out last week on Wednesday, as I was riding around the whole park, with my son, and then on Monday, I think we did it again. Yeah, yesterday, and that's when I'm like, had it on fixed,
Which part?
Christmas Hill Park.
It's,
And then I don't know if you had already on your notes on your to-do list, I finally took a picture and submitted.
that helps us.
Yeah.
That helps us, yeah.
So it was pretty obvious, I figured it would get done, but it wasn't, like 5 days later, so I'm like, all right, it's time to click, fix it. Is that how it goes? See, click, fix it.
See it, click it.
And in regards,
Fix it.
awesome, and then in regards to the updating the restrooms, as you talked about in the city, whether it's the city part, but the restrooms at Christmas Hill, there's the very nice ones. And then there's the
The new
very,
restroom?
yeah, and then the very old ones. When you're speaking in regards to updating all restrooms, are you including also the old ones that are kind of back towards the paint making area, barbecue area, that are pretty nasty?
Yeah, I'm not sure we were, looking at doing much to that little stall back there.
Yeah, there's like a single
Yeah.
stall, man.
We were focusing on the main amphitheater one, cause there's,
Okay,
yeah.
they're bigger, right? Yeah.
I honestly, I think we have to take a look and see whether those even should be continuing to be there, frankly, I don't know that the value. For a single restroom, for a single stall. I kind of tend to believe that we should probably demo and cap and be done with it because. They're not going to be cost effective to update and deal with it. With the new restroom going in. It seems like it's unnecessary at this point, so I think that's where, and we certainly can do that and work with that, so. Put it on the list.
one more comment that is not about parks, but I attended the city budget workshop last month, or this month still, I've already moved on. And it was super, super informative, just about like where the money's coming from and stuff. So the last one, I would encourage everyone to go to if you're interested, and, so in the plan, pickleball, like they said, is being represented, so hopefully that money stays there. It's awesome, which is our top priority here, so I feel like everybody should be happy about that. And then Lewis, and was working on this. I don't know if you want to speak to the excess budget allotment.
Yeah, I think, Councilman Hilton forwarded the idea, and it's gonna be on the legislative agenda for them, each, they're gonna talk about it, where the excess money, if we have an excess surplus in the budget year, that Parks and Rec would get a certain percentage. I was hoping 5 to 10, he mentioned 1 to 3, but they threw out 5% out there, so that would be, one of the, it's on our list, our work plan is securing a separate fund of sourcing, a separate source of funding for Parks and Rec. We're offering scholarships, we're making park improvements, that's a step in the right direction, so. And that's through, again, working with our city council members who are like-minded when it comes to parks to get that one. So it's on the radar. and the fact that on the legislative agenda, Mayor Bozo proposed getting the master plan updated. It's on their agenda, it's on their radar now, we're making some inroads, so we just gotta continue.
Yeah, I think it helps to go speak and email the council members and just really push park commercialization, and the budget's important, and.
We have a lot of young constituents in the city, we've grown, the city's grown, we've got room to go.
Commissioner Bozo, I didn't get your park comments. You have Carriage Hills, Gateway, Miller.
Oh, yes, Gateway, there's limited parking at the Gateway because the numbers are numbered. So, I didn't want to park there, so at Gateway, I just kind of observed and went on to the other two parks. But it looked great, there was one person and her child were, there and it looks good. And then Miller Park we talked about, and then the other one is, what's the one up
Oh,
on
Carriage
Crest Hill,
Yeah.
yeah, that looked good.
Okay.
You're talking about the gravel was there and still there. but-
Yes, on the Long Meadow Court side, yeah.
All right, I think that's item 12, so we're on to item 13, under staff comments. There are any? No? And we'll adjourn the meeting at 7:46. Thank you all.